Mom's voice finally came through, dripping with that familiar, guilt-inducing tone. "I've been calling all day." My stomach churned. "I was at work." "Mom, that's not true. I just couldn't face another conversation where my feelings don't matter. What are your plans for the holidays?" The scheming undertone made my heart race. The usual family gathering, I guess. "Well, we're doing something different this year." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "I got 4 tickets for a 3-day Ezra Collective concert." The words 4 tickets hit me hard. I knew I wasn't included. "Am I coming too?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "About that. We have something important for you to do." My mouth went dry. "What exactly?" "We need someone to look after Nana. You know, since you're always so good with her. So, while everyone enjoys the live music, I'm supposed to stay home for 3 days and take care of Nana." "Don't be so dramatic," she said. "You're always taking care of Nana anyway, right? Besides, it's not like you have other plans." Rage burned inside me, but I kept my voice steady. "Were you ever planning to actually ask me? Or did you just assume I'd agree, like always?" "Of course, I thought you'd say yes. You've always been our reliable girl, putting family first." "Mom, I'm a grown woman," I said, fighting to keep my voice from shaking. "I deserve to control my own time." The answer is no. The silence on the other end was heavy. "Alara, don't be so selfish. This is a special vacation for everyone. Everyone except me," I shot back. My knuckles turned white around the phone. "I can't believe you're ruining my life." "I'm not ruining anything. You're the one ruining our plans with your selfishness." My heart pounded. "Selfish? You're the ones who made all the arrangements without even asking me, expecting me to gladly sacrifice 3 days of my life. Isn't that the definition of selfish? That's enough. Your father will call you. Maybe you'll listen to him." Before she could hang up, I declared, "If you expect me to be your on-call caregiver, don't expect me to come home at all." I wasn't sure if she even heard me. My relationship with my family has always been one-sided. During college, I skipped exam study sessions for family events. I canceled important plans with friends to watch my brother, Finn's, games. It was my normal life. The situation worsened after Nana broke her hip 2 years ago. The surgery was successful, but she showed dementia symptoms during recovery. Doctors said the shock likely caused a decline in her cognitive function. My parents and Finn, who all lived together, refused to care for Nana. "We have jobs," they said. I lived in a nearby apartment and worked remotely as a copywriter. I became Nana's primary caregiver. "Alara, you've always had a special bond with Nana," my mother said. "You couldn't possibly think of putting her in a facility, could you?" It was emotional manipulation. I didn't want to put Nana in a facility. But while I took on caregiving, my parents went on cruises, and Finn and his wife skied every weekend. My life stopped. That night, my apartment felt like a prison. My phone buzzed with calls from my parents, which I ignored. Finn texted, "Alara, think about what's best for the family." I laughed bitterly. In this family, what's best always meant sacrifice yourself. I collapsed on my sofa and called my friend Cora. She knew what I dealt with. "Let me guess, they're trying to rope you into caregiving again?" she asked. "This time is different." I actually said no. I don't have to go along with their plans anymore. "Good for you. You've always given in too easily. You deserve your own time and space." "But they won't stop calling," I sighed. "Dad keeps trying to reach me." "Don't answer," Cora said firmly. "You've made your decision, right? They're just trying to wear you down." "Thanks for saying that. I'm not being unreasonable, am I?" "Absolutely not," Cora insisted. "You're an adult. They need to respect your decisions." After we hung up, my phone rang again. It was Dad. "Dad, my answer is still no," I said immediately. "Alara," Douglas's voice was measured, "we're just asking you to show some compassion for your family." "Me? Lacking compassion?" My voice cracked. "You're the ones who don't respect my time or my life." "Fine, we'll handle the concert separately then. But could you at least come by that morning? Nana really wants to see you." I hesitated, suspicious but relieved at this compromise. "Okay, I'll come just for that morning, but please, stop trying to manipulate me into caregiving. I promise. Thank you, Alara." After hanging up, uneasiness settled in my stomach. He gave in too quickly. Still, I felt proud for setting boundaries. For the weeks leading up to the concert, I continued to commute to my family home daily to care for Nana. But we didn't discuss that day with my parents or Finn and his wife. I felt relieved but couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The night before the concert, I texted my parents, "I'll be there around 11 tomorrow morning. See you then?" Mom replied almost instantly, "Perfect, Alara. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow." I allowed myself a small smile. My relationship with my family was complicated, but I hoped I could enjoy visiting Nana briefly while maintaining my boundaries. The next morning, I woke up early, packed Nana's medication and favorite snacks, and loaded everything into my car. I chose things I knew she'd appreciate: her favorite tea, some audiobooks, and photos from my recent work projects. Driving to my parents' house, I felt surprisingly peaceful. Just a quick visit, see Nana, drop off her things, and back to my freedom. But as I pulled up, something felt wrong. My parents' car was missing. So were Finn's family cars? The lights were on, but the house seemed oddly quiet. I frowned as I approached the front door with my bags. When I rang the doorbell, I heard slow, shuffling footsteps. The door opened to reveal Nana, looking confused. "Alara!" she exclaimed with genuine joy. "You came!" Of course, I smiled and hugged her frail form. "Good morning, Nana. Where is everyone?" "They all left," she answered, her voice suddenly clearer. "They all went to that concert, as planned." Actually, 1 month before the Ezra Collective concert, I entered Nana's room with her evening medication. She sat by the window, writing in a notebook. As soon as I entered, she quickly closed it. "Alara, would you mind closing the door?" she said, in a surprisingly clear voice, not her usual confused manner. Though confused, I complied. "Sit down," she said, taking my hand. "I have something to tell you." Her eyes were clear and her voice was steady. "I don't have dementia." "What?" I froze in shock. "You seem shocked," she smiled. "After my hip surgery, I was confused temporarily, but I recovered. I just didn't tell the family that I had recovered." "But why? Your dad and mom and Finn and Sarah?" "I wanted to see how they would treat me and how they would treat you," she explained. "They think I'm having dementia, so they speak their true feelings in front of me." Nana pulled out a folder from her drawer. "They're planning to go to the Ezra Collective concert, and they intend to dump my care on you." My face drained of color. "Don't worry," she said. "I've known about their plan for a month. They discussed everything in front of me because they think I couldn't understand. I was waiting for the right timing," she said meaningfully. "Alara, they've taken you for granted for years, but this time is different. This time, it's time to teach them a lesson." She began to explain her meticulous plan. I would pretend to fall for their scheme and come to the house. Then, after they left, I would scare them into coming back. She said with gleaming eyes, "This incident will be your opportunity to break free from their control." Yes, this was Nana's plan. And finally, the day came. "Let me help you to the living room first, Nana." As I guided her to the sofa, I looked around carefully. The house was clean, her medications neatly arranged on the side table. On the dining table were the remains of breakfast and a note. While Nana settled in her favorite chair, I picked up the note. "Dear Alara, we left around 9:00 a.m. Nana has had breakfast. There are 3 days of prepared meals in the fridge. Instructions are attached. Emergency numbers are on the fridge. Make sure she takes her 2:00 p.m. medication. With love, Mom." I need to make a call. "I'll be right back." I went to the kitchen and dialed Mom. After several rings, she answered. "Oh, Alara, you made it. How's your Nana?" "What the hell are you thinking?" I couldn't contain my fury. "How could you pull something so underhanded after I explicitly said no?" "Alara, please calm down," Mom said in that infuriatingly soothing tone. "We knew you'd come through. You're always so dependable. I'm not your on-call caregiver. I only agreed to a morning visit. I never agreed to watch Nana for 3 whole days. But you're there now, aren't you? You can't just leave her alone. She needs you. This is serious abandonment." My voice turned ice cold. "Do you have any idea what happens when I call Adult Protective Services?" I heard her gasp. "You wouldn't dare! Try me. If you're not back soon, that's exactly who I'm calling next." "Wait!" Mom's panic was palpable. "We're still at the venue entrance. The concert hasn't started." "Then leave and come back. I'm staying for 1 hour. If you're not here by then, I'm calling the authorities." I repeated 1 hour and hung up. Meanwhile, Nana and I put our secret plan into action. "Have you packed everything, Nana?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Of course, I answered with a smile. The Florida beaches are waiting for us. Nana took out an envelope of official documents from her bag. I wanted to leave before showing you this, she said, handing me the papers. It was her new will. I read it with astonishment. Her assets, her beach house, considerable savings, and the investment portfolio inherited from Grandpa were all to be given to me. Nana, this is... Words failed me. The right thing, she said firmly. I met with a lawyer months ago and showed evidence that they lied about my cognitive abilities. They forfeited their inheritance rights. My parents had been trying to gain control of Nana's assets by claiming she had dementia, but Nana was wiser. A doctor's assessment proving her clear cognitive state and recordings of my parents' conversations made her new will legally unshakable. By the time we boarded the plane to Florida, my parents would have discovered the empty house and a note, "Dear Monica and Douglas, I do not have dementia. Alara and I are going on a lovely extended trip. The legal proceedings regarding my assets have been completed. With love, Mom." Sitting on the sandy beach, Nana and I shared the joy of freedom. Finally released from family constraints, we began a new chapter. After returning from Florida, I spent a quiet morning in my apartment, responding to friends' messages while ignoring the flood of texts from my family. After their betrayal, I needed time and space to heal. That afternoon, my blood boiled as I scrolled through Facebook. Mom had posted, "Such a disappointing holiday. It breaks my heart when someone abandons their own family." My poor mother was so confused and upset. I never realized how easily family bonds could break. The comments poured in. "So sad, Monica. Young people today just don't understand responsibility. Abandoning your own grandma is the worst. Family must come first. Some people just don't get it." My hands shook as I took screenshots. Though she hadn't named me, everyone knew who she meant, and she had completely twisted the truth. Fueled by rage, I crafted my own post, "Time for the Truth." Yesterday, I visited my family as promised. Upon arrival, everyone had already left for the Ezra Collective concert, expecting me to care for my grandmother with cognitive issues for 3 days. This was after I explicitly refused them. I threatened to report them for elder abandonment, forcing them to come home. Now I'm accused of not caring about family. The reality? They don't respect my time or boundaries. I am not their on-call caregiver whenever they want entertainment. True family is built on mutual respect, not manipulation and convenience. Hitting post might permanently damage my family relationships, but I needed to speak my truth. With a deep breath and trembling hands, I pressed the button. The reactions exploded immediately. Cora commented first, "So proud of you for standing up for yourself." Then a wave of supportive messages from my friends poured in. That night, my social media account blew up with family backlash. Mom accused me of disgracefully exposing private family matters. Dad told me to act like an adult. Finn and his wife claimed I was betraying the family. Cousins and distant relatives I barely knew piled on with criticism. Yet simultaneously, my post spread far beyond my network. Strangers began sharing it with comments like, "I've been the family caregiver for years too. Blood relation doesn't entitle them to abuse your boundaries. And you did exactly what you needed to do." My phone buzzed non-stop with notifications until I turned it off to sleep. The next morning, Cora's call woke me. "Alara, this is completely blown up. Your post is everywhere. Several major blogs have picked up your story." What? I rubbed my eyes and grabbed my phone. Notifications flooded my screen. My post had thousands of shares, with countless people sharing similar experiences online. News sites featured my story and articles about elder care ethics and family boundaries. "I never wanted to go viral," I whispered, overwhelmed. "This wasn't my intention. But your story is touching so many people," Cora said. "What you're describing is something countless. Others have suffered in silence." That afternoon brought a shocking twist. Mom posted again. I need to set the record straight. My previous post was written in haste. My husband, my son and his wife, and I had unfair expectations of our daughter, Alara. We disrespected her boundaries and tried to use her as free elder care. Her response was justified. I sincerely apologized publicly. I stared at my screen in disbelief. Mom never apologized, especially not publicly. The explanation came moments later in a text from Nana. "I had a serious conversation with your mother. Their behavior was disgraceful. They've agreed to publicly apologize to you. However, this isn't enough. They've been exploiting you for years. I believe we should consider legal options to address this pattern of abuse. Legal options? That seemed extreme, but my perspective quickly shifted that evening. While ignoring Mom's calls, I opened an email from Dad. What I read made my blood boil. Alara, we've apologized publicly, but you need to examine your own actions. Threatening elder abuse reports is completely excessive. We just needed a few days of help with your grandmother. Your dramatic overreaction has humiliated our entire family. You are no longer welcome at family gatherings. My hands shook with rage. Their public apologies were hollow. They still blamed me and were trying to cut me out of the family. I immediately called Nana. Her voice hardened with anger when I read the email to her. This is outrageous. They haven't learned a thing. Alara, we need to consult with a lawyer immediately. This is clear harassment. Following Nana's advice, I met with a family law attorney the next day. She listened attentively to my story. Miss Hartfield, this goes well beyond a family disagreement, Attorney Olivia Morrow said gravely. The behavior of your parents, your brother and his wife, constitutes psychological harassment. The public defamation on social media could be considered libel, and the abandonment of your grandmother raises serious elder abuse concerns. Should I really take legal action against my own family? I asked, feeling the weight of the decision. Let's begin with a formal warning letter, Attorney Morrow said. We'll inform them that continued harassment will result in legal proceedings. I agreed, and Attorney Morrow sent formal warnings to my parents, brother, and his wife. But instead of calming things down, this only poured gasoline on the fire. After receiving the letters, Mom went on the warpath. She posted that I was an ungrateful daughter trying to sue her own family, who only wanted help with her sick grandmother. Dad publicly called me emotionally unstable and insisted my claims were wildly exaggerated. Finn and Sarah joined the attack, labeling me an attention seeker and declaring my story pure fiction. Their vicious response left me no choice. I met with my lawyer again and made the painful decision to file a lawsuit for defamation and emotional distress. Miss Hartfield, I know this isn't easy, Attorney Morrow said gently, but it's necessary to protect both you and your grandmother. The day we filed the lawsuit, my emotions were in complete turmoil. Despite everything, these people were my family. But their actions weren't a one-time mistake. They represented years of exploitation and disrespect that I could no longer ignore. Nana Beatrice was my rock. She supported my decision and offered to testify, revealing how she had been mentally documenting the family's treatment of me for years. I pretended my memory was worse than it is, she confessed. I wanted to see who truly cared about me versus who saw me as a burden. The legal battle dragged on for months, completely shattering whatever remained of our family relationships. My parents, brother, and his wife refused all contact. Extended family members were forced to choose sides. Most aligned with my parents in the name of family loyalty, but Nana and a few others stood firmly with me. The case moved forward faster than expected. My lawyer methodically presented evidence of the years-long pattern, the concert day incident, and the vicious social media campaign that followed. Nana's testimony proved devastating to my parents' case. She revealed with crystal clarity how they had systematically taken advantage of me for years. The most damning evidence came from the social media posts and private messages from my parents, brother, and his wife. Their own words exposed their malicious intent and harassment more effectively than anything else could have. The judge ruled decisively in my favor. He issued a restraining order against my parents, brother, and his wife, awarded substantial damages for defamation and emotional distress, and ordered them to publicly retract their false statements about me with a court-approved apology. The court finds that the actions of Monica Hartfield, Douglas Hartfield, Faith Hartfield, and Thomas Hartfield constituted clear harassment of Alara Hartfield and caused severe emotional distress. The judge declared firmly, family relationships must be founded on mutual respect, and the defendants have fundamentally violated this principle. Additionally, their abandonment of Beatrice Hartfield, despite her cognitive challenges, demonstrates a disturbing disregard for elder welfare. Leaving the courtroom, my heart felt both lighter and heavier. I'd won my case and defended my boundaries, but the cost was losing half my family forever. You did exactly what was necessary. Nana whispered, squeezing my hand with surprising strength. Some wounds may heal with time, but you must never compromise your dignity or self-worth for anyone, even family. In the months following the verdict, their lives were transformed dramatically. The case had been covered extensively in local media, devastating their carefully cultivated community reputations. Dad was forced into early retirement from his accounting firm after 30 years when clients began requesting different representatives. Mom resigned from her executive position at the marketing company when colleagues stopped, including her in meetings. Their social circle shrank rapidly as former friends distanced themselves from the scandal. Finn and Sarah's real estate investment business suffered immediate consequences. Potential clients researched them online only to find stories about elder abandonment and harassment. Within 6 months, they were forced to sell their luxury home and downsize dramatically. Meanwhile, Nana moved in with me. Together, we renovated my small apartment to accommodate her needs while preserving her independence. With her encouragement, I enrolled in creative writing courses, finally pursuing my long-held dream. 1 year later, my life had transformed completely. With Nana's support, I reduced my copywriting hours to focus on my first novel while taking advanced writing classes. Nana, thriving in our shared home, started a small online community for seniors, exploring their creative talents. The pain of family betrayal still occasionally surfaces, but I remind myself that my decisions were necessary. I won't make space in my life for people who see me as nothing but a convenient caregiver, I told Cora during one of our regular coffee dates. It sounds harsh, but protecting myself was essential. Though the wounds may never completely heal, I walk forward with confidence. Nana and I have created our chosen family based on mutual respect and love. Our story serves as a powerful reminder that exploitation, even from family, should never be tolerated. Story 2. What is this meant to be? Without even picking up the flowers, my mother inquired. These orchids are specifically imported. Quietly, I proposed. Additionally, there's something unique within. She didn't look, though. Rather, her cheeks flushed with rage. She dug into the armchair with her immaculately manicured nails. Yes, I was aware of that. You are indeed a worthless girl. She laughed and spat that out. You get here dressed like you're on an aircraft. It's probably your sole decent possession. You can't afford a fancier rental automobile, so you drive a simple one. You offer me flowers now. And what should I do with these? In 3 days, they will perish. The bouquet was thrown back at me by her. Everything fell onto the coffee table, sprinkling flowers all over everything. Nate and Cassie, my step-siblings, laughed behind their hands. A few visitors were uneasy. The drama appeared to be entertaining to others. Victor, my stepfather, continued to go through his phone as like nothing was going on. I picked up the bouquet, carefully picking up the petals that were dispersed. There was silence in the room, awaiting the next move I would make. Even though my heart was racing, I didn't want them to know how shaken I was. Mom, you know what's funny? Despite the emotion swirling inside of me, I spoke steadily. It's concealed among these blooms. She had no knowledge of them. They had the same mindset as before. They didn't consider me a member of their own family. My thoughts turned to the past 10 years. To the day my life was irrevocably altered. I was dragged away on the day I graduated from high school. Mom and my father-in-law, Victor, invited me into the living room for a serious conversation just as I was taking off my cap and gown. As I stood in front of them, my pulse pounding with excitement, they sat on the couch like judges preparing to deliver a verdict. Alexandra. Victor's voice was chilly and harsh as he started. You are now 22. Although we've been kind, you must realize that you can't stay here indefinitely. You must start making your own money and locate a legitimate job. I grinned composedly, experiencing a wave of relief instead of the obvious terror they had anticipated. I fully comprehend. I'll be moving out the next week. I answered, relishing the moment of astonishment on their faces. I suppose they both thought I would be defiant and cry. Mom's mouth opened as if she were about to speak, then shut again. A single line appeared on her flawlessly lipsticked lips. All okay, good. Victor eventually succeeded. That shows a lot of maturity. Neither of them inquired about my intended destination or means of subsistence. They were too relieved that I accepted so readily to take the chance of posing potentially difficult questions. Their enthusiasm to transform my bedroom into another area for their beloved Cassie was almost palpable. Moving day came sooner than I thought. I crammed my life into 2 bags and 4 cardboard boxes. I wrapped each thing with a little tremor in my fingertips. It was unexpected how little I had gathered over the years. It was almost as if I had been waiting for my opportunity to flee, unconsciously planning for this moment the entire time. At precisely 9 in the morning, Grandma Ellie arrived in her blue Honda. I half expected my mother or someone else to come check what was going on, so I nodded as I watched her park my stomach through my bedroom window. As we drove away, I could see some movement behind Cassie's room's curtains, but the house was still quiet. In the side mirror, I saw my boyhood house becoming smaller and smaller until it vanished entirely. I refrained from crying. Rather, I felt as though the chains were slipping off my shoulders with every mile that separated us from that mansion of well-constructed pretenses. That summer, I worked at Sunshine Cafe, serving sandwiches and coffee to regulars who were like family to me and always left generous tips. I had forgotten there might be warmth in their grins. When I wanted to save more money for college, the owner, Miss S. Peterson, even allowed me to work extra shifts. My connection with my parents has now entirely deteriorated. I took a plane in September to begin my new life at Westlake University. I was 3 states away from my familiar surroundings. It's this, my new beginning. As the plane took off, I muttered to myself. Although the business and real estate curriculum was difficult, I gave it my best. Every time I study late at night, I feel a burning sense of determination. My first true buddy since high school was Liv, my roommate. When she eventually found out, she just gave me a big embrace and said, "They're lost, girl. They're absolute loss." At first, she didn't know my entire tale. My window into the life I'd left behind was Mom's Instagram. The ideal family was right there, smiling at Nate's workplace, at social gatherings, at Cassie's exhibition openings, and while snapping photos at upscale resorts. As I watched them practice their positions, my gut would not. Every time the captions read, like promotional material, "We are really proud of our amazing business people," is nothing better than spending time with family. There was not a single mention of me. I was removed from the family story as if I had never been there. Grandma and I would cook together and watch old movies from her collection over the holidays. No upscale dining establishment could compare to the comforting aroma of her handmade apple pie. We established our own customs, and I valued them more than any imposed family meal. Occasionally, she would gently take away my phone when she saw me looking through my mother's social media posts. Her eyes become enlightened. "Avoid torturing yourself." Squeezing my hand, she would say, "Now you are creating your own narrative, one that is authentic." I was too. Because of my academic record and internships, I graduated with honors and employment offers in hand. Diana Westbrook, Liv's mentor, owned a prominent real estate company. And during a display for university real estate investments, she saw my potential. During my interview, she added, "We need ambitious minds like yours." Her eyes were piercing and evaluating. "Your market analysis is highly praised by your lecturers." Although I began as a junior agent, I wasn't satisfied with that position. I diligently expanded my clientele, worked on the weekends, and compulsively researched market trends. I became a top-selling agent and saved enough money for a down payment on my own opulent condo in just 5 years. When I stood in my empty living room with my keys in hand and sunlight pouring in through the floor-to-ceiling windows on the day I signed the mortgage paperwork, I finally broke down in tears. They were tears of joy, tears of achievement and pride, of being aware that I had achieved it on my own terms. Then the greatest surprise arrived. About 6 years after I began working for the firm, Diana summoned me into her office one morning. She passed a document across her desk and remarked, "I've been keeping an eye on your progress. Every time you've done better than anyone. I would want you to join our luxury properties section as a partner." I opened the packet with shaking hands and almost gasped when I saw the commission structure. I never thought I'd make so much money, particularly around age 28. I never understood why I should share my life on the internet. Yes, I had social media accounts, but I mostly used them to post sporadic pictures of real estate or my condo's sunset views. Only Grandma was aware of my sales figures, my new condo, and the svelte black Audi rate I had rewarded myself with. "It's all yours, and you deserve it." With pride, she would say. Every time I told her about my accomplishments, her eyes glistened. The social media accounts of Cassie and Nate, however, were little more than never-ending highlight reels of mediocrity. It's unbelievable that they continue to do this. While looking over their profiles, I murmured to myself. With phrases like chief lifestyle, blessed luxury life, Nate would stand next to his used BMW 3 Series. With Mom and Victor's credit cards, Cassie was able to purchase expensive labels in the pictures she posted of herself at designer stores. I laughed especially at one post. When hard effort pays off, Nate is writing while standing next to his car at a neighborhood networking event. Achievement. Entrepreneur. Property. Sitting in my Audi rate with the engine purring like a happy kitten, I read this. More valuable than his yearly pay at Victor's business. I didn't feel the need to prove anything to anyone, even if the console shined in the sunlight and the leather seats still smelt like new. My accomplishments were too obvious for Instagram filters to convey. Then came the message that made all the difference. One Tuesday morning, the notification sound had my heart skip a beat when it appeared in my Instagram direct messages. It's your mom, Alexandra. Next month is Mother's Day, and I'm hosting a small family get-together at my house. I anticipate that you will come and bring something suitable. The time is 1 p.m. on Sunday. Sharp. Avoid embarrassing me by arriving without anything. I gazed at the display. As I was reading the message, my coffee was becoming cold. Several times. 3 years of little communication. And she reached out like this? No. How did you feel? No effort to close the distance. Just an order to show up to her party with that subliminal anticipation of a costly present. With my finger hovering over the screen, I nearly erased the message there, but something stopped me. Perhaps out of curiosity. Or the curiosity about what may occur if our universes collided. With a mixture of butterflies and fear in my gut, I contacted Diana and asked for a few days off before scheduling a flight to my hometown. That night, while drinking tea in her warm kitchen, which smelled like freshly made cookies, the question I had been wondering myself was posed by Grandma. Sweetheart, what are you going to get her? I took out my phone to show her the pictures, grinning. I had recently purchased a lakefront vacation home through a foreclosure sale. 3 rooms, private dock, about $450,000 worth of panoramic vistas. Grandma's teacup froze halfway to her lips as her eyes flared. That's Alex. It's excessive. She is not deserving, after the way she handled you. Yes, I am aware that she doesn't. I sipped my tea and laughed. I could feel the warmth rising through my chest. Can you picture her expression, though, as she discovers what she has been lacking for so long? She had no idea how successful the daughter she had set aside would end up being. When she sees how mistaken she was about me, I want to see her face. You have a hint of cunning. Grandma shook her head and laughed. Her eyes were sparkling. I have to admit that I'm actually looking forward to it. This is something you can accomplish. When I arrived to my mother's suburban home on the morning of Mom's get-together, I muttered to myself. I put on my Armani pantsuit, which was sophisticated in its understated elegance, and had tailoring that exuded richness without being overt. 10 of the gaudy costumes I saw later that day might have been purchased with the price tag. I purposely chose to drive my rental vehicle rather than asking the agency for an Audi. I find it amusing that this would support their presumptions about my life. A florist who worked with celebrities created the beautiful bouquet of rare orchids and peonies that I carried. The fragile flowers wrapped in tissue paper. As I went up the familiar road, my heart was thumping so hard that I could feel it in my fingertips. The home was just what I had anticipated. Upgraded on the surface, with features that dazzled many who had never seen real luxury residences. The sort of business with cheap cabinetry behind granite counters. This appeared to be student housing based on the homes I had shown. Mom's gaze hardly touched me before her mouth twisted slightly as she greeted me at the door. You came, Alexandra. For the occasion, you could have dressed up a little more. She gave my modest designer ensemble a disapproving glare. When I walked in, the living room was already crowded. Wearing a sequined blouse that gleamed in the recessed lighting, Mom sat in her favorite recliner. Nate and Cassie surrounded them like successors to the throne, while Victor stood at her side. Relatives I hadn't seen in years occupied the remaining seats. I used to get too many cheek pinches from Aunt Linda, Rachel, my cousin, who was always boasting about her children and other unidentified people from my past. I sat at the far end of the room and watched the performance. Mama's perfumed candle set was given by Aunt Linda. She said confidently, "It's from that exclusive boutique at the mall." The room echoed with her voice. Mom gushed about it as if it were diamonds. "You know precisely what I adore, Linda." Rachel offered a gift card for a day of treatment at a nearby spa. Mom's joyful squeals continue. The presents kept coming. A recipe book, an ornamental vase, and a bath product basket. Mom made care to highlight how considerate and ideal each present was, treating them all like priceless treasures. With every packet, her eyes glowed. Then came the time for Cassie and Nate. Together, they got to their feet, beaming as if they had won the jackpot. It still seemed uncomfortable to hear Nate refer to her as Mom. "Cassie and I combined our funds to purchase a unique gift for you." Cassie displayed a picture from her phone. "This smart TV is 65 inches. It was brought and installed in your living room already." With her jewels clinking, Mom grabbed them both tightly as she broke down in tears. "My lovely, giving kids. It's unbelievable that you accomplished this. You must have spent months saving money." At last, everyone looked at me. I extended my arm and held out my bouquet. Mom's face instantly becomes serious. "What is this meant to be?" Without even reaching for the flowers, she asked. "These orchids are specifically imported." Quietly, I proposed. "Additionally, there's something unique within." She didn't look, though. Rather, her cheeks flushed with rage. She dug into the armchair with her immaculately manicured nails. "Yes, I was aware of that. You are indeed a worthless girl." She laughed and spat that out. "You get here wearing such simple attire. It's probably your sole decent possession. You can't afford a fancier rental automobile, so you drive a simple one. You offer me flowers now. And what should I do with these? In 3 days they will perish." The bouquet was thrown back at me by her. Everything fell onto the coffee table, sprinkling flowers all over everything. Behind their hands, Nate and Cassie laughed. A few visitors were uneasy. The drama appeared to be entertaining to others. Victor continued to go through his phone as though nothing was going on. I picked up the bouquet, carefully picking up the petals that were dispersed. There was silence in the room, awaiting the next move I would make. Even though my heart was racing, I didn't want them to know how shaken I was. "Mom, you know what's funny?" Despite the emotion swirling inside of me, I spoke steadily. "The deed to a $450,000 lakefront vacation home with 3 bedrooms, a private dock, and expansive views lies concealed among these flowers." She had lost the color in her face. With a crack that felt deafening in the sudden quiet, Cassie dropped her champagne flute. It's not possible," Mom stumbled. Her flawless makeup couldn't conceal her astonishment. "Something like that is out of your price range. It's clear that you're lying." I couldn't contain my laughter. The tension was broken by the sound. "Whether I could afford it or not, you know. If only you had been interested in my life during the last several years. However, allow me to catch up with you now. Westbrook Luxury Properties is where I work as a partner. I am the sole owner of my downtown condo. Additionally, you marked that rental automobile. I didn't want to leave my Audi rate parked in this area overnight, so I drove it." Nate's jaw dropped, his meticulously maintained facade of achievement disintegrating in front of my eyes. Cassie's fingers were twitching her phony luxury bracelet uncomfortably, but she had stopped laughing. "You're so sure I'm a failure, though," so I went on, putting the little envelope back in the bouquet. "It's also obvious that you don't want anything from me. I won't give you any more Mother's Day spoilers. Take pleasure in your television. The resolution seems to be nearly as excellent as the one in my home theater system, I've heard." The gentle thump of the front door shutting behind me seemed like the period at the conclusion of a long, agonizing sentence as I left with my head held high. I went directly to Grandma's place by car. With every mile, the burden on my shoulders lessens. She was anticipating my arrival. On the coffee table, 2 cups of tea are already steaming. The air was filled with the familiar aroma of chamomile. I filled her in on all the events. Sometimes my voice breaks. There are certain people who never change. She shook her head and moaned. The silver in her hair gleams in the lamplight. "Appearances have always been more important to your mother than actuality. Even as a young child, she was more concerned with appearances than emotions." My phone began to ring while we were still conversing. It was an unidentified number, but I could tell who it was by the butterflies in my stomach. "Alexandra, my love," honey oozed from Mom's voice. I winced at the change from her previous tone. Where she obtained my number is unknown to me. I've been reflecting on today's events. Have you? My fingers clenched around the phone as I calmly responded, "Indeed." And now I see that I could have acted too quickly. I would be delighted to take that property deed if you are still prepared to offer it to me. This may be a new beginning for us. I'd like to re-enter your life. We are related. No, I said, at last realizing what I had been missing for years. We're not related. All we have in common is our DNA. Furthermore, you had no intention of repairing our relationship. That lake mansion is all you're after. My fingers shook a little as I hung up, but my will remained unwavering. After I left town, my phone kept buzzing. Mom phoned from several numbers. Victor's phone, the home, her mobile, and even his phone. My gut tightened as she saw that I wouldn't be answering the texts that began to pour in with every notice. "Please give me a call back, Alex. We must discuss the property problem. Your remarks on your career have been on my mind. You might be able to assist Nate in beginning his real estate career. He gets along well with others. Cassie has expressed her desire to work as an intern for a high-end real estate company such as yours. Her resume would look fantastic with it. The home requires some remodeling. Additionally, each communication was clearer than the prior, since you're doing so well. No regrets, no recognition of the past. Just a never-ending barrage of inquiries and clues regarding my finances." Her words of desperation made my skin crawl. It was like seeing a ravenous animal circle its victim. But it wasn't a dinner that Mom had lost. It has to do with her bond with her daughter. I approached each communication as though I were examining a client's real estate holdings with an odd sense of objectivity. The range of the techniques was nearly astonishing. Shame. Your mommy is me. How are you able to ignore me? After everything I've done, flattery. You've developed into a really prosperous businesswoman. Manipulation. Family members ought to assist. Family at difficult or perhaps dangerous times. You abandoned your poor mother, and I'll tell everyone in the business about it. I keep getting calls from your mom. A week after I got back home, Grandma called me and told me. If you believe it, she arrived at my garden gate today, insisted that I provide her with your address and details on the lake cottage. You told her what? I asked, even though I already knew the answer from the feeling in my chest. Before I phoned the police, I urged her to leave my property. She laughed. Despite her age, she had a powerful voice. Her face should have been as red as my tomatoes for you to see. She insisted that she had a right to know your property holdings and the residence of her daughter. She forfeited that privilege years ago when she opted for Victor's kids over you, I reminded her. I could see my mother at the garden gate of my grandmother. She was most likely trying to intimidate her way into obtaining what she wanted while sporting one of her fake luxury clothes. I had always seen this pattern, but now I could see it clearly for what it was. Blatant selfishness masquerading as family care. It wasn't warmly received by her. Grandma went on to rave about how unappreciative we were of each other and how she had given up everything for you. While watering her roses, Miss S. Henderson, who lived next door, listened to everything. When she at last understood that I would not compromise, she almost backed into Mr. Peterson's mailbox as she hurried to her car. But watch out, Alex. The expression on her face. She exuded desperation. I told Grandma that I had already blocked her on everything. Her picture is at the front desk of my workplace, and it is posted on social media, the phone, email, and security, in case she comes up. I wandered inside my apartment after we hung up, examining everything I had made for myself while running my fingertips over the cool marble surfaces, the specially made furnishings. The original artwork on the walls was carefully chosen by me. I earned the expansive view of the metropolitan skyline from my floor-to-ceiling windows by working hard and being determined. I reflected about my mother's communications and her unexpected interest in me now that she was aware of my precious possessions. Ultimately, it was almost humorous in a depressing manner. She had thrown away a connection with her daughter in order to give the impression that she and Victor and his children made the ideal family, and now she was frantically trying to re-enter my life in order to seem successful and gain access to my assets. She did, however, impart one important lesson to me. Marriage licenses and DNA have no place in family. It all comes down to love, support, and sticking by one another through good times and bad. I live with it with my grandmother, I gave my lawyer a call the next morning and moved the lake house deed into a trust so that Grandma and I could share it. She attempted to deny it when I informed her. Her eyes were filled with tears. She never deserved this as much as you do. You've been a better mother to me than she ever was, I remarked. She gave me a firm, safe, and loving hug, and I felt like I was right at home for the first time in years. In a genuine home based on love, not a house of pretense. Story 3. Don't even consider attending your brother's engagement celebration. Standing at the doorway of his office, my father's voice broke. He tightened his fists at his sides. Why? I inquired. I was cleaning the serving tray when it fell to the ground with a clatter. My heart fell like a stone after years of attempting to gain his regard. He moved back to his desk and I stood still. His eyes were filled with tears. Not for me, though. For his honor, for his household, representing his discomfort at having a daughter who handled food service rather than portfolio management. But 3 days later, they encountered a significant issue. I didn't miss the irony. I developed my love of food as a youngster by making delicacies that delighted everyone in our family kitchen. When my father first saw my gift, I was setting up cupcakes for a school bake sale. His beaming pride made me feel good. What? You're doing amazing, he remarked, observing how I turned basic items into delicious delicacies that made my students happy. Here, you're making something unique. With a spatula in hand, I looked up to see the sweetest smile I had ever seen on his face. Beautiful meal should be enjoyed by everybody. I gave a straightforward response. My high school graduation meal was the first indication that something was seriously broken. It was a frightening Reynolds estate. The artwork and marble countertops were more expensive than any restaurant's annual wage. With her pearl necklace shining in the chandelier light, my mother sat rigidly at the head of the table. "Olivia, what are your current plans?" she inquired. "I'm going to the Culinary Institute in the autumn, even though we've spoken about my culinary school applications a lot." How charming. Those business meals must be prepared by someone, I guess. Without defending me, Dad clenched his napkin. "Are you planning to pursue a management degree?" His voice was strained as he asked. "Running a restaurant may be quite profitable. You've always been a gifted chef. Building on it, you ought to pursue business management studies." I blinked, perplexed. My area of interest is culinary arts. I like to make stuff myself. I enjoy cooking since it's a creative, hands-on activity. There was silence at the table. My tummy ached as Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Dad made a suggestion later that evening. "Maybe you might think considering presenting meals yourself in a less overt manner. Business entrepreneurs are respected in our circles." Olivia may have placed more emphasis on management than waitressing. At the time, I wrote it off as a one-time compromise. I was hoping to work as a waiter in a hotel and learn cooking in order to fulfill my ambition of one day serving my own food to customers. I had no idea that it marked the start of Dad's effort to change me into a person the Reynolds family could admire at their parties and whose social circle would appreciate. I spent years trying to be the daughter my father was proud of, the person in charge of food service who enjoyed providing ideal dining experiences. I continued working at Grand Meridian while I was visiting his business events. I dressed appropriately. Talking about market trends and vacation properties made me grin and taught me which wines to suggest. My father no longer recognized my culinary masterpieces and no longer thought of me as the gifted daughter who had previously taken him by surprise. He considered my cooking to be only a steady pastime. I went for a walk around my tiny flat the morning following my father's rejection. In sharp contrast to my childhood home, the Reynolds estate in Westmoreland Heights. My neighbors didn't have country club memberships or financial portfolios. They were teachers, nurses, and retail employees. I recalled going to the charity event 6 months prior at my father's persuasion. Catherine Whittington, a family friend, had approached me behind the appetizer table with a champagne flute in her hand. "You work downtown?" Walter said. "Which company do you work for?" Before I could respond, she pointed with her diamond tennis bracelet, which caught the sun. Dad was standing beside me, his fingers pressed hard on my elbow. "Olivia works in the hotel sector. She has a lot of aptitude at organizing events. It's not the truth, but it's also not a lie." I observed that he had diverted the discussion from my practical job, my true love. After everyone had gone that evening, I went up to him. You gave the impression that I spend my days behind a desk. I just make things simpler, he added, untying his necktie. In any case, they wouldn't comprehend what you do. Is there anything to comprehend? I work at a hotel as a waitress. Eatery. I take pride in that. He let out a sigh, the recognizable furrow between his brows. Olivia, there is a specific trajectory that people in our circles anticipate. Unless they own the business, no one serves meals. Dad hinted that maybe I could afford to find something better now, but I stuck to my motel routine. I can't give up the profession that makes me happy, the satisfaction I get when others try my cuisine and close their eyes in awe. That link had an intoxicating strength. In some ways, magical. Dad would never comprehend the world of real estate valuations and company purchases. Then came the news that made all the difference. One Sunday, Dad stormed into my flat, unusually lively. Ethan joyfully declared that he had proposed to Sophia Chen. Yes, she replied. I knew the name right away. In the legal field, Sophia Chen was a rising star. Local news frequently covered her cases. That's fantastic, I said. Since my brother Ethan has always treated me better than our parents, I am genuinely happy for him. What time is the party? Next month. Before her big case, they intend to get engaged as soon as possible. There was a sparkle in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years. The Reynolds family welcomes a Chen. Your mom is overjoyed. All family conversations were dominated by the Chen Reynolds engagement. Sunday dinners evolved into meetings to discuss guest lists and business relationships. The family of Sophia desires traditional features. One Sunday, Mom wiped her lips. However, there will be a fantastic networking opportunity. I sat in silence, feeling sick to my stomach as love turned into business. Ethan also appeared uneasy. Dad's criticism became more severe as the celebration drew near. Demands instead of suggestions. Are you unable to take that week off? On a rare visit, he inquired. Instead of waiting tables, how about helping with the setup? Why would I do that? Sophia's connections include judges, politicians, people who could help this family. Help with what, Dad? I have a job I love. I'm talking about a real job, Olivia. He stood up as his voice rose. Something befitting a Reynolds not serving food all day like a teenager. The silence that followed was deafening. I felt the final thread connecting a snap. Is that what you think I do? Just serving food. You know what I mean? I create experiences. I make people feel welcomed. What exactly do you do, Dad? Besides worrying about what others think, our relationship fractured completely. The man who once watched me cook with wonder now couldn't look at me without disappointment. 1 week before Ethan's engagement party, I was offered the chance to cater a local film festival. Maya, our hotel's chef, had recommended me for it. It was my chance to launch my dreams. I accepted the offer immediately. When I told my father I couldn't help prepare for the engagement party because I would be busy, his face twisted in disbelief. You're choosing to serve appetizers instead of helping prepare for your brother's engagement party. What followed was the argument that ended everything. Harsh words thrown like knives. Years of resentment surfacing. Dad accused me of embarrassing the family by refusing to move beyond my little food service job. I accused him of valuing who he wanted me to become rather than who I was. And the next morning, he called me into his office. Don't even think about coming to your brother's engagement party, he said flatly. Why? I asked, though I knew the answer. I don't want people to know you're just a waitress. The world just hung between us, weighted with years of disappointment. I stood in the aftermath, spatula in hand, realizing I'd spent years trying to carve away parts of myself to fit Dad's vision when I should have been serving myself first. 2 days before Ethan's party, my phone rang at 6:07 a.m. Mom's name flashed on screen. Unfortunately, my curiosity won over my initial reluctance. Olivia. Her voice was high and tight with panic. We need to speak with you. I'm listening. I kept my tone neutral. The catering company canceled their contract because of the hurricane. The replacement we found is completely inadequate. I bit back a laugh. That sounds unfortunate. It's a disaster. Their food is inedible, and guests will arrive tomorrow. Sophia's parents are flying in today. The satisfaction warming my chest was petty, but real. What does this have to do with me? We need your cooking abilities. The words seemed to pain her. My abilities as, what a waitress. I stressed the final word. Indeed. And your cooking skills? I believed my profession humiliated the family. Olivia, please. This festivity is significant to all of us. I'm begging for your aid. I have a booking for the film festival. I lied. In truth, the film festival was the next weekend. We'll compensate you generously. Plus incentives for the hassle. I'll think about it. I ended the call. A few minutes later, Ethan's voicemail rang on my phone. Olivia, it's me. We're desperate, but I know that things between you and your father are terrible. Because the cuisine appears to be what Sophie said, she is threatening to postpone our engagement. Slop from the cafeteria. My parents would be embarrassed by that. Caterers cannot assist at short notice. Would you kindly assist us? I would be very appreciative. It has nothing to do with Dad. Sophia is at issue. Furthermore, I adore her too much to allow poor cuisine to spoil our day. I stopped to consider his honesty. Ethan has always been nice and has stood up for me when Mom said something scathing. He loved Sophia for who she was, not what she stood for, unlike his father. Dad called at noon. In response, I nodded in my stomach without speaking. Are you there, Olivia? I'm present. I am aware that I have no right to inquire. Ethan feels sad, yet his voice sounded gruff. The food is not edible at all. And what am I supposed to do for you? I was unable to control my tone. You must cook for us. It was a hollow compliment. Why should I assist you? You expressed your feelings about my work rather clearly. I was mistaken. His voice broke. I have made a lot of mistakes. Please. There was silence between us. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock is the celebration time. At last, he spoke. In the morning, we require assistance at home. He hesitated before adding, there's one more thing. We informed everyone that you prepare events targeting affluent customers. An event planner was still taken aback by the discovery, more suited to the family's image. You're desperate enough, therefore, to admit what I do, although in private. How appropriate. Dad, goodbye. I hung up and sat still at my kitchen counter. I intended to disregard their cries and make them pay for their arrogance. However, I was too proud of my career to let family politics mar Ethan's day. I summoned my kitchen gear and phoned Maya. That person with the unique knives. I am in a predicament. I decided on a sleek black dress 1 hour later. As I packed my equipment, I thought of elegant yet useful ways to cook. I felt strong as each knife went into its container. The Reynolds family needed me for who I really was, despite my shameful job as a waitress. Chin up, back straight. I was prepared to use my culinary expertise as my lone weapon when I entered the lion's lair. There were food vehicles and mayhem when I got at my parents' estate. The Chan Reynolds engagement is the reason I'm here. The security didn't recognize me outside the kitchen, so I informed him. I inhaled deeply before opening the doors. Inside, Mom stood unkempt and nervous. She pulled me nearer and said, "Thank God." It was a catastrophe in the kitchen. Everywhere, containers were burning. Food has an odor. A chef with a crimson face shouting with employees. When Dad noticed me, he was on his phone near the entryway. His eyes went from relief to embarrassment in an instant. He was unable to look me in the eye. "Olivia's here," Mom said, giving another order. Sophia Chan looked sophisticated in spite of her anxiety. It's true that the food samples were disastrous. Broken sauces and overcooked meat. Presentation was awful. The cook is you, she inquired. She had hope in her eyes. I am, I said, putting my case aside. My name is Olivia Walters. She paused. I gave you a simple supply, daughter. I looked around the mess in the kitchen. She gave me room to work by nodding. This was an emergency, according to the caterers. Cook. Pointing to the food catastrophes, Sophia said, clearly their standards don't exist. It was difficult, but not impossible for me to evaluate the ingredients in a short amount of time. I can make this right, I said, using my practiced hands to open my knife roll. Mom was shocked to see how efficiently and precisely I set up professional knives and tools. What did you hope to achieve? As I looked over the supplies, I asked Sophia, something sophisticated yet approachable. Not pretentious, she said, gesturing with her palms. Comfort food presented with care is something we adore. I gave a nod. I'm thinking about a menu. I am able to make it for you. It will take me 4 hours. No, we don't. Mom started for hours. Or have your guests consume this. Calmly, I interrupted, gesturing to the charred food. You have an option. Mom stopped talking. Dad shifted uneasily close. Take the necessary action. Sophia made up her mind. Everyone is out. Except, do you mind if I remain? Olivia, I want to see you at work. In a matter of seconds, Mom's face was filled with outrage. As I retrieved items and organized the kitchen, everyone else filed out. Sophia calmed down. Thank you, she muttered. Not only for the cuisine, but also to avoid the pressures of family. I grinned. I'd be glad to assist with both. We had easy conversation while I worked. Sophia's lack of pretense was refreshing. So you're the enigmatic sister, she said. Ethan gives you a lot of praise, but your parents don't bring you up. They probably do. They claim I do what? Arranging events for high-end customers. No one would show me your portfolio since it doesn't exist, but she still laughed. I looked her in the eyes. I work at the Grand Meridien as a waitress. It's my work, and I take pride in it. They feel embarrassed about that. She gave a little shake of her head. Take care not to interfere with my cutting. The Reynolds family I've been coming to know sounds just like that. While I perform my culinary enchantment, Sophia talked about her personal experience. She had been raised in a modest immigrant neighborhood, the daughter of a seamstress and a manufacturing worker. Waitressing jobs, academic rejections, and small flats with too many roommates had all been part of her journey to become a lawyer. People think I was given this career when they see me now, she remarked. The years of toiling before the sudden achievement are invisible to them. My heart pounded with acceptance. People don't value success that comes too easy. That's right. She gave a nod, bright eyes. Ethan and I are connected by that. Despite his affluence, he is forging his own route, denying his father's influence. His goal is to earn everything on his own. I was astounded by this realization. Ethan had appeared different from our parents in our brief encounters, but I hadn't really appreciated how independent he was. The kitchen doors opened as I finished preparing the main dish. Mom showed in, and then two family friends who could be heard gasping. We must, Sophia. As my mother took in the culinary exhibition, her words faded. Oh my. Sophia stood, looking at a canopy from various perspectives. Her face brightened up with a warm, sincere smile. This is amazing, Olivia. Just what we desired. She took hold of my flour-dusted hands and squeezed. Thank you. The event coordinator, the photographer, and other business partners were all gaping at the food display in undisguised awe as more visitors trickled into the kitchen. Satisfied with my invention and prepared to go in silence, I started tidying up my station. I was wiping off the counter when Mom came over. Thank you. I'm not sure how you do this. Her attitude remained guarded, as though thanking a waiter caused her bodily discomfort, even though her remarks were genuine. I just nodded and made my way to the service exit, putting away my knives. I was stopped in the corridor by Dad. He appeared exhausted, with a gentler side showing through his tough exterior as a successful businessman. Hold on, Olivia. His hand reached for mine, then paused. It was amazing what you accomplished in there. I performed my duties. Calmly, I answered. The job you feel embarrassed about, he winced. I was completely mistaken, now I see that. He lowered his voice to a whisper. After the party, perhaps we could discuss. Now that I understand, I think we might resolve this. Know what, Dad? I spoke steadily. How useful your cooking abilities are. The people you could meet in these circles. All of Sophia's pals are powerful individuals in need of someone they can rely on for their events. There. It was a calculation of how it could further his goals, not an apology for brushing off my passion. You still don't understand it, even after he realized its worth in his world. Silently, I said. This has nothing to do with status or relationships. Respect for what I enjoy doing is the key. I stepped over him. With my chef's bag in hand, I felt strangely free. I had somehow rescued myself by rescuing this party. Reluctant to participate in the main celebration but not quite prepared to depart, I instead strolled to a peaceful area of the garden. As people made their way to the dance floor, the air was filled with the scent of evening jasmine and flowers. Within, Olivia. I was surprised by Ethan's voice. In his fitted suit, he stood there looking pleased, but a little disheveled. At the collar, his tie was already loose. Shouldn't you be snapping pictures or interacting with the guests? Startled to see him by himself, I inquired. They have 5 minutes to wait. His hands were in his pockets as he walked up. Sophia explained to me what you did, and how you intervened when we weren't worthy of your assistance. I gave a shrug, pride in one's work. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't let everyone go hungry during your engagement celebration, Ethan chuckled. Then his face darkened. We both know it was more than that. We sat after he gestured toward a stone seat. I must express my regret for our family's treatment of you. For what purpose, Dad? His voice trailed off. You don't have to say sorry for him. I know him better than others, but maybe not. Ethan gazed at his pricey footwear. Being a Reynald child somehow warps your perspective on the world. It all boils down to looks, relationships, the appropriate educational institutions, and professional choices. I listened as Ethan candidly discussed the strain of our early years and the covert and overt ways our parents had shaped our viewpoints. I didn't realize how unhealthy everything was until I took a step back from it all. Dad never gave you that freedom, he acknowledged. He tried to push you into his line of sight by keeping you under his thumb. That doesn't justify his treatment of me, I said quietly. No, it does not. Ethan looked me in the eye. There is no justification for such. However, I want you to know that this is not the case for everyone in the family. I don't, and neither does Sophia. Ethan asked me a question that surprised me as we were making our way back to the party. Now, what are you going to do? What about you and your father? I honestly replied, I'm not sure yet, but I'm certain that I won't diminish myself further in order to conform to another person's idea of success. When we got back, the celebration was going strong. The dance floor was packed with guests. I took a seat quietly at a table close to the edge of the garden, enough to observe from a distance. But in a matter of seconds, a woman with gorgeous silver hair and tasteful clothing came up to me. She held out her hand and said, "Excuse me, Sophia's mother is myself, Elizabeth Chen. I've spent the entire evening savoring the meal. The tastes are outstanding. Who made it?" Another woman entered the conversation before I could reply. "The catering is superb. Are you the cook? Kindly let me know if you are available for Boston events." Throughout the evening, the word spread swiftly. Various visitors, attorneys, CEOs, and event coordinators came up to me and inquired about my food. I handed everyone the basic contact cards. I'd slid into my bag and explained that I worked at the Grand Meridian and that I occasionally cooked private parties from the other side of the garden. I saw my dad listening in on these discussions. His face was a combination of surprise and shrewdness. At last, he came over with glasses of champagne. He had prepared his grin for prospective investors. He offered me a drink and said, "Looks like you're the life of the party." I held back on taking the champagne, tasted, merely making contact with possible customers. I've been thinking. He started by dropping his voice in a secretive manner regarding our previous conversation. "We ought to take a closer look at your circumstances after seeing you at work today, seeing how your gift is received by all these powerful individuals. Now I know that this is a true chance, possibility, for both of us." I repeated the phrase, tasting sour. Ignoring my response, my father went on. "My business network and your culinary prowess. Your job path might be reimagined by us. Maybe start a premium catering business for affluent customers. Perhaps even start a little eatery using the Reynolds brand." Everything was exposed by his remarks. He was still unable to appreciate what I'd done. He needed to elevate it, repackage it, and make his social circles accept it. I put the unopened champagne on a waiter's tray as it passed. "Thanks, Dad," I answered calmly. "Rebranding my passion to suit your tastes is not something I'm interested in." Before he could respond, I left. My mother stopped me outside the garden gate as I was about to leave, holding a little envelope in her immaculately manicured hands. She murmured, "Olivia, darling," in a sweet voice I had never heard before. "We are very appreciative of your assistance today. We want to express our gratitude." She extended the envelope. Without looking, I knew. It included a check for the services rendered, along with maybe a bonus for the humiliation of having to admit my occupation. "Mom, I'm not interested in your money." Her smile faltered. "However, you should undoubtedly be paid for your skills and efforts. I want something much easier," I said, looking her in the eyes. Acknowledgement that all honest labor, even serving meals, has dignity, that a person's passion and expertise are more important than their career's prominence. My mother, clearly taken aback by my answer, blinked many times. "I don't get what you're saying. You don't have to comprehend." I politely interrupted. "For For the sake of Ethan and Sophia, just consider it. I strolled out into the cold night air, if nothing else. With every step away from the celebration, the weight of years of compromise is lifted. I would give Maya a call tomorrow to discuss the restaurant space she had seen the week before. I'd talk to the people I met tonight about starting my catering company. I had a disagreement with the hotel advertising. The party had committed to keeping the job available. I thus took the important choice to cut off all communication with my mother, who is always just concerned with looks, and my father, who always considers his own interests. I sent a brief note to both of them. This marks the end of our partnership. I don't intend to waste any more time with relatives that don't care about me. You attempted to utilize me only to further your interests and social standing, Dad. You were constantly embarrassed by my presence, Mama. I hope Ethan and Sophia are happy, but I don't want to talk to you again. Farewell. My phone rang with a message as I got to my car. Sophia sent it. Are you already leaving? You can't be blamed. Again, thank you so much for everything. Give me a call when you're prepared to cater the charity event for my law company. No Reynolds relatives. There are strings connected. I put my phone in my pocket and grinned. I felt like myself for the first time in years, but the road ahead would not be easy. I had just brought my abilities and my knives to that house, but I was leaving with something far more valuable, the assurance that I would never again minimize myself to fit the expectations of others. As I steered away from the Reynolds family toward a future where I will be appreciated for who I am. No, not because of it. My talented, self-assured, and imaginative hands gripped the steering wheel.